This is a celebration, and primarily we're celebrating all this productive work that the members of the Centre for Citizenship, Identities and Governance have been engaged in to get to the point where we're celebrating the launch of 13 books. There should be another one on this particular display, which is related to the Citizenship and Governance panel, Power, Participation and Political Renewal, which has Janet Newman in its co-authors. I'm sorry, we updated this and we've got the wrong slide up here, so my apologies for that. And before I go into my proper introduction, can I just do the obligatory safety announcements, please? First of all, turn off your mobile phones. I've just had to be reminded to turn mine off. And if you didn't bring it or you've done that already, congratulations. And safety announcements. If there's a fire, there'll be an audible signal, and the fire escapes are there and there. Okay? That's all I need to say on that. So all these books, all these 13 books, will have been published within a year of each other. And there are displays outside. You will have an opportunity to buy them or to take an order form away with you, discounted. In the break, all you have to do is nab the author and get them to do the transaction with you. They testify to the hard work and intellectual commitment that the authors have shown over the last few years, and we shouldn't forget, of course, that these publications will feature in our research assessment exercise submission, and so I think we have to thank the authors for their timing in that respect as well. But what we're not really here for is particularly to just for each author to say their piece. What we want to do is consider how these publications contribute to the themes of citizenship, identities and governance. And one of the characteristics of our research centre is that a lot of the work we do actually crosses those strands rather than just sits within. And so we hope that the format of the book panels, and indeed I think that Engin's also going to address these issues in his lecture afterwards on the future agenda for citizenship studies. But in all of these parts of the afternoon, we're really thinking about the overarching themes with which the centre is concerned, rather than any particular slot. And so the way that we've decided to work these panels is that we will have a chance for discussion and making the links between these, including contributions from you and other viewers who will be with us through the webcast, and with the opportunity also to ask questions and join the discussion live. So in a sense you're not the only audience here, but I'm very glad to see you in person. Very glad indeed. Thank you. Okay. So we think that these books and what they stand for and the cross-cutting of themes actually does add up to a particular CCIG perspective on the issues of citizenship, identities and governance. Engin Isin and Anne Phoenix will chair the two panels. Engin, this panel which is already assembled on the themes of citizenship and governance and their interrelations. Anne Phoenix on the identities panel, which will start off at 3:15 after a short break. The pleasing thing about being able to choose those two as chairs of the panel is that they've both been editors of special issues in their particular areas lately. So from Engin we have a special issue of the Journal of Citizenship Studies, which he started and is still with after 10 years. And Anne has edited a special issue of the European Journal of Gender Studies on intersectionality. And so those are part of what we're thinking about, although they won't have their 3-minute slot as such to talk about what they've done in those issues. But that's not all we're doing. Engin joined the OU about 6 weeks ago. We've already plunged him into a lot of activities, as you can see from this afternoon. He's going to be very busy. Engin Isin is at the far end there. And he is the new director of CCIG. So this event also functions as a kind of handover where I can thank him for taking over the reins of the centre, and can also arrange, as we have done, for you to hear what he has to say about the future agenda of Citizenship Studies. We're absolutely delighted to have you, Engin, and I'm rather delighted that I can refer to you as the director of CCIG from now on. Engin's become internationally recognised for putting citizenship studies on the academic agenda and given it a lot of the intellectual reach that it has attained so rapidly worldwide. Regarding the webcasting of this event, I gather that I must inform you that this is publicly accessible so that you know that you have, by being here, consented to that fact. If anybody has any objections, you better speak now. I assume that this is getting quite a commonplace with OU events. I assume that you will be fairly used to it. Finally, thank you for members of the Faculty Research Office for organising this event, and particular thanks to Sarah Batt for all that she's done to get us here in this very space to start. So, Engin, I'd like to hand over to you and launch our panel of authors on citizenship and governance books.
Okay, thanks very much. As Wendy suggested, one of the things that we want to do is to focus on what connects the connecting tissue between citizenship, governance, and identities. So we organize it in 2 panels, but we want to be able to speak to the question of how these contributions that authors have made actually have the ability to bring together at least 2 or 3 strands of citizenship, the Center for Citizenship, Identities and Governance. I'm just getting used to the name. It's a mouthful name, and that's why many people just simply say CCIG or SIG, and I'm going to switch to that fairly quickly. Now, in terms of citizenship studies and what constitutes as a study that has to do with identities as well as governance and what connects it to citizenship is something that I'm going to also speak to in my lecture later today. But when we look at the books published that we want to discuss today, we see that some of them are obviously about citizenship, some of them are less so. And so I want to tease out the ways in which that are obviously about citizenship, the kind of contribution that they make, and the conception of citizenship that they hold, that I want to address. But then there are the ones that are less obviously about citizenship, then in which ways we can tease out the relationship between these books and their contribution, not only in the author's own estimations, but also as readers, what we see them. So let me just quickly introduce my new colleagues at CCIG. Just at the outer edge is Mike Saward. I think to his right, Margaret Wetherell, Celia Davies, Janet Newman, Jef Huysmans, Paul Lewis, and John Clarke. What we're going to do, did I miss anyone or did I make it? No? Did I? It's about right. Is anyone hiding under the table? No. So when we look at the collection of books, for an outsider, someone who's not necessarily associated with citizenship studies or perhaps tangentially associated, the question might appear, for example, to what extent politics of insecurity is about citizenship.